Welcome once again to Light Recaps. Today, we shall be going through a 2017 movie titled Gifted. This is a story of how a 7-year-old girl became a university student. Well, this is how it all began.
In the morning of her first day at school, Mary is in a foul mood because she doesn't want to go to school. She wants Frank to continue homeschooling her, but he claims he's already taught her everything he knows and that she needs the experience. He is confronted by Roberta, his landlady and friend, who cares deeply for Mary, as soon as he sees the reluctant and sulking Mary off to school. She tells him to get in his car and bring Mary back before it's too late because she's afraid she'll be taken away once everyone realizes she's a child prodigy. Frank tries to calm her down by telling her that she needs friends and social skills. Roberta isn't convinced, but she has no choice but to let go. At school, Mary is shown being bored out of her mind as her teacher, Bonnie, goes over first-grade math problems with the rest of the class. Mary eventually speaks up, stating that the lack of challenge is too much for her. She continues to say that the mathematical problems are too easy and are for babies. Bonnie warns her about speaking when she is not asked to speak, and begins posing increasingly difficult arithmetic problems to prove her point. But to her surprise, Mary answers them all correctly. After recess, the principal requests a walk-in observation of Bonnie's class. As soon as she introduces herself to the children, Mary demands to know if she's the boss, and upon confirmation, she asked her to call Frank right away and tell him to get her out of there.
Get on your phone and call Frank and tell him to get me out of here.
After school, Frank picks Mary up. Bonnie runs outside to catch him and discuss Mary's incredible knowledge of math. Frank lied, saying that Mary studied the Trachtenberg method to allow herself to memorize equations and arithmetic computations. Bonnie later looks up the Trachtenberg method to see what Frank was talking about. She also looks up Mary's mother and Frank's sister Diane, who was a brilliant mathematician until she committed suicide when Mary was only 6 months old. She then confronts Frank at the bar she knows he hangs out on Friday nights and learns the backstory. Diane, his sister, appeared at his doorstep out of the blue one night with Mary, who was just a baby at the time. She said she needed to talk to him, but Frank was already late for a date, so he told her they'd talk when he got back. When he got back, Diane had committed suicide in the bathroom, and Mary was in his living room. So he has been raising Mary since then. Mary is on the school bus and sees her classmate Justin walking with a zoo diorama that Mary finds better than the one she made. Another kid named Ricky trips Justin and causes him to break his diorama, mocking the poor boy in front of the other kids. Mary yells at Ricky for what he did, and when he asks what she'll do, Mary grabs a textbook from another kid and whacks Ricky in the face, breaking his nose. Frank is called in after the incident. Principal Davis considers expelling Mary but then suggests granting her a scholarship to attend the Oaks Academy for Gifted Education, as someone with Mary's intellect would be more suited for that environment. However, Frank refuses to allow it, feeling that Mary needs a normal education and childhood. Frank and Mary receive an unexpected visit from Frank's estranged mother Evelyn. She gives Mary a laptop as a gift. Evelyn then takes the time to criticize Frank's living arrangements and Mary's form of education, which doesn't surprise Frank. She claims she is looking out for Mary's best interest and asks Frank what Diane would think if she saw how Mary lives now. Evelyn wants to take Mary and give her the best education she can get to put more potential in her future. When Frank disagrees, she takes him to court. Frank and Evelyn then become involved in a custody battle. Evelyn brings her lawyer Aubrey Highsmith, while Frank is represented by Greg Cullen. Highsmith argues that Frank illegally gained custody of Mary, while Cullen defends Frank's living conditions. It is settled that Frank and Mary will be checked on while Evelyn will have some time to herself with Mary. Frank leaves Mary with Roberta for the evening while he goes out for drinks with Bonnie. They eventually hooked up, although Bonnie is initially hesitant. The two sleep together, and Mary unexpectedly goes over to her house the next morning while Bonnie is there wrapped in a bed sheet. Mary catches her, and Bonnie leaves extremely embarrassed. Evelyn takes Mary to Boston. She shows Mary pictures of Diane and tells her about Diane's research into the Navier-Stokes problem, which Diane had devoted her life to. Evelyn takes Mary to meet her colleague, Seymour Shanklin, to review an equation he tried to solve. Mary appears confused by Shanklin's work, which he dismisses as her simply not being able to comprehend just yet. As Evelyn takes Mary away, Mary states that she was confused because Shanklin's equation was wrong. Mary returned, corrected the equation and solves it herself, giving Shankland a shock of his life. Meanwhile, back in Tampa, Frank and Bonnie continue seeing each other. Mary starts seeing a psychologist named Pat Golding. Pat learns much about Mary's life, including that she has no friends her age and that she sees Roberta as her closest friend. Pat appears concerned when Mary mentions that she and Roberta watch UFC fights every week. During the next court hearing, Mary's biological father Bradley Pollard testifies on behalf of Evelyn. Cullen presses Bradley over his non-involvement in Mary's life, not even being able to know her middle name. The judge rules against Bradley for any sort of custody. When Mary learns that her father was around, she breaks down in tears over him not bothering to visit her. To cheer her up, Frank and Roberta take Mary to the hospital to see a family gathered as they await the birth of a new child. When they learn that a boy has been born, the family cheers. Frank tells Mary that this is what it was like when she was born, and it was he that stepped out to deliver the news. Frank and Evelyn return to court. Highsmith grills Frank as he testifies regarding his current job doing freelance boat repairs when he used to have a job as an assistant professor at Boston University, as well as a previous arrest for assault. Highsmith continues to insist that Frank is depriving Mary of a potentially fruitful future. Cullen in turn presses Evelyn about the circumstances surrounding Diane's passing. Cullen later goes to Frank's home and tells him that he and the judge have come to an agreement where Mary would be placed in foster care until the age of 12 when she can decide where to live, out of fear that they will lose the case and Frank would lose full custody of Mary. Cullen urges Frank to take the deal. Frank meets the foster parents and sees that they have a nice home and family. He leaves Mary there, and they have a tearful goodbye where Mary begs Frank not to leave her. Frank must regrettably walk away even as Mary cries and screams for him. After a while, when Frank tries to visit Mary, the foster father tells him that she doesn't want to see Frank. Crushed under the guilt of not having stayed with Diane the night of her death, and his insecurity over his capability for raising Mary, Mary is absolutely furious, however, and refuses to see Frank after he's left her with the foster family despite her relentless begging and tears. Frank is desolate, but is determined to do what everyone seems to think is best for Mary, when he finds out thanks to Bonnie that the foster family has put Mary's beloved one-eyed cat up for adoption. He rushes to the animal shelter and rescues Mary's car and 2 other last minute before they are put down. He finds out from the front desk at the shelter that the cat was brought there due to allergy issues. Knowing it's Evelyn who's allergic to cats, he makes a quick stop at his place and then rushes to the foster family's home to confront Evelyn. As he suspected, she's in the guest house with Mary and 2 tutors. Upon seeing him, Mary runs away. Frank follows suit after throwing a file on the desk and tells Evelyn she must see it. Evelyn tries to go after them but Roberta physically blocks her way and stops her. Frank manages to catch up to Mary and ask for forgiveness. Mary stops fighting and hugs him, and her spirits get even more elevated as she finds out her cat is at Frank's place safe and sound. When Mary and Frank return to the guest house, Roberta takes Mary to the car, and Frank orders the tutors out. We find that it's the finished proof for the Millennium Prize problem Diane had been working on. Evelyn says she doesn't believe it because she would have shared it with the world. Frank tells her that Diane gave him clear instructions to wait to publish it until after their mother's death. He tells her that she can go ahead and publish it, and leave Mary alone. Since she asks, he tells Evelyn that if she refuses, he'll take the folder away and wait to publish it until after Evelyn dies. Evelyn is shocked and in tears, but she takes the deal. At the end, Mary is shown attending classes at the university in the mornings, and the elementary school in the afternoons. Bonnie and Frank smile at each other with affection.
That was all from the movie. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification icon to help our channel grow.